Well, welcome everyone to today's training on fields of study curriculum and transfer pathways. My name is Amy Ramirez, and I'm part of Lone Star College System's curriculum management team in the Division of Academic Affairs. Priscilla Martin and I will be sharing with you what we know about this topic and how it works at Lone Star College. We're also joined by Sonia Delgado and Karen Vance in academic initiatives and partnerships. They work with university partnerships, and they'll be sharing a little information about additional transfer pathways a little later. This session focuses on the field of study curricula in Texas and will give you the legal foundation, the practical advising tools, and some real world scenarios to help you confidently guide students through field of study transfer pathways, as well as some other transfer pathways for students. The legal authorities you'll see referenced throughout. Those are Texas Education Code 61.823 and Texas Administrative Code Title 19, Rule 4.32 are the backbone of everything we'll discuss today. So this isn't just institutional policy, it's state law. I want to give a quick shout out to Dr. Wendy Wilson for requesting this session on behalf of Sci-Fair. Hey, here we go. Right. Here's our agenda for the next 45 minutes or so, and we'll move rather quickly through 5 sections. We'll look at the field of study fundamentals, what it is and how the 3-component structure works. We'll look at transfer guarantees and what the law requires of Lone Star College, as well as the receiving universities. We'll talk about advising in practice, provide a decision framework, look at a live scenario, and do some myth busting. We'll provide you with a list of the Lone Star College inventory and some resources, and talk about those additional transfer pathways, focusing specifically on articulation agreements. And then we should have time for Q&A and discussion. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat or write them down somewhere. We should have time at the end to unmute and discuss. However, if there are any questions that we're unable to get to during our time together, we can provide responses in our follow-up email. Anna Woolley is in the chat to monitor for questions. We have also 4 interactive moments built into the session as well, a couple of polls, a knowledge check, case study vote. So please get ready for what we hope you will find as an engaging and informative time together. Okay, so first, I want to get a quick read on where you are all starting from. So take out your phones and scan the QR code, or if you have a second screen, go on your browser to the other screen and go to slido.com and enter the code on the screen. I'm gonna go to the question. It'll have the QR code there as well. So here we go. What we want to know is, how confident are you right now advising students on the fields of study transfer pathways? The sad faces, I'm not at all confident, or 4 might mean, or the happy love face might be, I feel very confident. No names are collected in this. Just want you to know, just be honest, because we want to know how effective we are in this presentation. Did we move the needle for you? Good. So it looks like people are feeling fairly confident in this so far. Some are like, I got this, and others are like, I'm not so sure. And that's great. You're in the right place. Good. So we're going to, I think that stays open. We're going to move on to get started with the content. Okay. Here we go. Let's start with a solid definition. A field of study curriculum, or FOSC or FOS, is a state mandated set of lower division courses in a specific discipline. So when a student completes those courses and transfers to a Texas public university into an associated program, that university must accept the coursework toward the relevant degree. So this is not optional. It's not a strong suggestion. This is Texas state law under Texas Education Code 61.823. This law now also has more teeth to it, which we'll talk about a little later. Fields of study are developed collaboratively by subject matter faculty from community colleges and universities working together through the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board's Texas Transfer Advisory Committee, and we also call it the TTAC. The Texas Transfer Framework was revised in March of 2021, and it established the new three-component structure for all fields of study. So you remember we took out all of the, we sunsetted all of the old ones, and we're implementing as they're being approved, the new fields of study. And this understanding the structure is really essential to your advising work. Component one is the designated Texas core curriculum. These are core curriculum courses that are specifically discipline relevant. For example, in the psychology field of study, Psych 2301 applies in the designated core component of the field of study and also satisfies 3 hours in the core social behavioral sciences 80 category. Courses in this field of study component will satisfy general education at both Lone Star College and the receiving university. So it's still core, but it also satisfies some of the requirements for the field of study. Component two is discipline foundation courses. This is a lower division discipline specific courses which community colleges are able to offer. They must be accepted as equivalent to courses at the receiving universities. For psychology, that would be Psych 2314, 2317, 2319. Component three are the directed electives. These are a set of university designated courses students can choose from to complete their field of study. Now, this component provides flexibility for the student and the receiving university. Sometimes there are more options than hours required, so a student might have some choice in that, and students may need to select different directed electives based on their target university. So I need you to hold on to this one because it's an important wild card for everyone, and we're going to talk about this more. So you'll also notice on the right-hand side of the slide, there are two columns with different hours requirements per category. Here's an important change to the field of study structure that we are just starting to introduce at Lone Star College. You might have been wondering why engineering, which is very popular with our students, was not one of the first fields of study approved. Well, that structure didn't really work for some programs like engineering. So in August of 2024, the coordinating board approved the alternative field of study structure, which is designed to accommodate programs like music and engineering that require more discipline foundation courses and typically are not able to build into an associate degree that is core complete as we currently define it. Biology will soon be the first field of study available to adopt that incorporates the alternative field of study framework. So did your student complete the entire field of study or just some of the courses? This distinction is one of the most important things that advisors need to understand, and it's also one of the most commonly confused. So a complete field of study transfer means the student finished all three components, the designated core, the discipline foundation, and the directed electives for that university. Under Texas Education Code 61.823B, I promise I'm not going to quiz you on that, but it's important. The rules and the law is important. The university must accept the entire field of study block toward the relevant degree. It cannot make the student retake any course in the block, and the student is also core complete. If the student is also core complete, they'll qualify for the Texas Direct degree, which we'll discuss shortly, meaning they have automatic junior standing. An incomplete field of study transfer means the student completed some, but not all components. The critical thing to know is that the student still has protections under Texas Education Code 61.823C. The university must accept individual courses that are equivalent to their own courses. Now, equivalency is based on course content and learning outcomes and not on course names and numbers. So no student should walk away from your advising appointment thinking, I didn't finish my field of study, so none of my courses count, because that's simply not accurate. Texas Direct is the crown jewel of field of study completion. So when a student completes a field of study and is core complete, they earn a Texas Direct transfer degree. Now it's still an AA or an AS, but it just has that distinction of being classified as a Texas Direct transfer degree. So they would be automatically entering their target university as a junior with the entire transfer credit block applied. So there's a critical note on legacy fields of studies, those that were developed before March 2021, the ones that we sunsetted, were valid until spring of 2026. So the students would have had to have transferred into one of those relevant degrees by now already. However, there was an extension granted for music and engineering through summer of 2027. So students that were already in those programs and still working on that still have a little time to complete. And this is because the replacement field of study is not yet ready for those programs. So they don't want to discourage students from pursuing music and engineering, but they had to get that new framework in place, and then they've got to get the committee together to approve what the fields of study are going to look like. Chances are it'll look a lot like a lot of the courses that were in the old field of study. So I'm glad they did it. Finally, the coordinating board offers a free Texas Transfer Framework e-learning module for advisors, and I strongly recommend all of us complete it. It covers the new framework structure in more depth than we're going to get to today, and we'll include a link to that in our post-meeting notes. Here's the interactive part. So let's test our knowledge before we move on. I'm going to read each statement and you tell me in the chat. So go to the chat. Good morning, Flanisha. So tell me in the chat if it's true or false. First one, a student who transfers without completing all 3 fields of study components gets no credit protection. Is that true or false? Yay. I love that. Yeah, false. It is false. Incomplete fields of study transfers still protect individual equivalent courses under Texas Education Code 61.823C. Students always retain individual course protections. All right, ready for the next? Completing a field of study guarantees a student will be admitted to their target university. True or false? Yep, there you go. All the A students sit up front. They show up at the 8:30 meetings on Fridays, and they're at Sci-Fair. I love it. That is also false. So field of study guarantees credit acceptance, but not admission. Admissions decisions remain each university's independent authority under Texas law. All right, the last one. Texas universities can require a student who transferred a complete field of study to retake equivalent courses. Like, it's not as good here as it is there. We need them to take ours. Contessa, so proud of your advisors. This is also false. Receiving institutions are actually prohibited from requiring retakes of any courses that have the equivalency there. All right.
We are going, oh, sorry about that. Go ahead.
There you go. Thanks, Priscilla. Yeah, thank you.
We're going to go ahead and move into section 2. This is the legal framework that backs up everything we've covered. So the law creates obligations for everyone involved in the field of study transfer. LSC as the sending institution, universities as receiving institutions, and protections for students. The obligations for LSC are that we must note field of study completion on the official transcripts under Texas Administrative Code Rule 4.32E and keep our curriculum aligned to the current THECB approved field of studies. The obligations for the university or receiving institutions are that they must accept complete field of study blocks toward the relevant degree. They cannot require retakes, as we learned earlier. They must grant individual course credit for equivalent courses, even for an incomplete field of study. And they must maintain a formal published field of study dispute process. The students have a guaranteed transfer credit protection for complete and incomplete field of studies and a right to a formal dispute process, which includes the THECB as a final enforcement authority under Texas Education Code 61.826. So what happens when a university doesn't honor a field of study? There is a four-step escalation process under TAC Rule 4.35. Step 1 is the student's action. The student submits a written dispute to the receiving university's designated transfer dispute contact. There are required timeframes, so the student shouldn't wait to send this in. Step 2 is institutional review. The university must respond in writing within 45 days under TAC Rule 4.35. Their decision must cite specific legal authority. A vague refusal is not a valid response. Step 3 is LSC escalation. If it still remains unresolved, the student should contact their LSC Student Services Office to document the dispute, have the Student Services Office help the student compile evidence, and coordinate directly with the receiving institution. The last step is step 4. If the student and the receiving institution still haven't come to a resolution, the THECB will get involved. Unresolved disputes may be escalated to the THECB, which has enforcement authority under Texas Education Code 61.826. Institutions are required to comply, as we keep hearing, it is Texas state law. So what I appreciate about this process is that there is a defined short-ish window for the institutions to respond and try to resolve the matter. This could be in enough time for the student's first semester, or at least to complete within that first semester. So let's see this process in action. On the THECB's transfer dispute page, there we go. It starts with the Texas Education Code and TAC rules that provide the process for dispute resolution. We're going to scroll down to the bottom of the page, and at the bottom of the page, you'll see the types of issues that had to be resolved by the THECB commissioner, which means it went all the way through to step 4 of the process we just described. So we can see the process works. Now we're going to move on to section 3 and back into our presentation. This is the practical heart of today's training. We're going to walk through a decision framework, a live scenario, and bus submits. When a transfer student sits down with you, here's a simple 3-question framework. Question 1, has the student declared a plan? If yes, you move on to question 2. If no, help them explore programs and then return to question 2 once declared. Question 2, does a field of study exist for that program at Lone Star College? Check the catalog inventory and the THECB transfer website. If yes, move on to question 3. If no, advise on Texas Core Curriculum Block Transfer and TCC&S equivalencies. Question 3, Is the student targeting a university that accepts their field of study? If yes, advise the student on what they will need to take the complete field of study and qualify for a Texas Direct degree. If no, you can advise on Texas Core Curriculum block transfer and TCC&S equivalencies, and consider showing the student other institutions that do accept the field of study. So you may have noted on a prior note that I highlighted the word relevant. This is really important for the transfer guarantee. I want to show you where you can find the connection between the field of study and the transfer institution. We're going to go to the THECB's Texas Direct website. You'll want to bookmark this page in your web browser for future use. It has the links to the most recent versions of the field of studies, and this is why it's important, the list of institutions that accept the field of study and the directed electives they require to be field of study complete. The LSC degree plans that incorporate the field of studies include as many of the course options as we are able to offer, which is most, if not all, of the directed electives listed on the field of study page. The LSC faculty curriculum teams looked at the options and designed the program to help promote maximum transferability, trying to help the students still be field of study complete regardless of the institution they decide to transfer to. But I can't emphasize this enough. Your guidance here is the key. You can help explain to the students which courses are best for their selected institution, or which courses are more widely accepted by more institutions to provide maximum transferability should they change their mind about the receiving institution. Let's continue with using the psychology field of study as an example. Scroll down on the page to the Texas Transfer Field of Study Progress section. Here you're going to find the list of field of studies that are and their statuses. For those that are indicated as complete, you will find the title of the field of study as a hyperlink. This takes you to the page with the approved field of study curriculum and the list of directed electives per institution. Let's go ahead and I think we're going to open that. The three components are listed at the top. This will align with the LSC plan in the catalog and in iStar. Next is the zip code of the program that determines relevancy with the university. The university must also have a bachelor's degree in their inventory with the same zip code in order for the transfer guarantee to work. The remainder of the information identifies the directed electives per institution. The psychology field of study requires 6 hours of directed electives. Angelo State provides a list of 4 courses to choose from, so the student has some choices to make. Let's scroll down to the University of Houston. U of H provides a narrow list of only 2 courses. So the students should take these 2 specified courses if that is the transfer institution they'd like to go to. You should note that while some institutions are very prescriptive about the directed electives, others will allow any ACGM course to count as the directed elective. When adopting the field of study, the LSC faculty curriculum team created the directed electives list with maximum transferability in mind. The directed electives list is formed by the list of courses from institutions that have a preference. This will help build improved transferability for the student should they change their mind about the transfer university. Let's go back to the slide presentation and work through a scenario together. So here's our scenario. Listen carefully before voting in the chat. Maya is a second semester LSC student with 32 hours, 32 credit hours. She wants to transfer to U of H and major in psychology. She is not yet enrolled in any field of study, specific courses, or at least doesn't know if she has completed any so far. She has 3 semesters left before her target transfer date. Your 4 options are A, tell Maya she's too late. The field of study requires too many courses for 3 semesters. B, help Maya enroll in the psychology field of study, identify designated core courses, the discipline foundation courses, and directed electives that would fit her plan. C, advise Maya to just take general courses and worry about that field of study later. She has time. Our last option is D, recommend Maya transfer as soon as possible without a field of study since she already has 32 hours. So I'm going to give you a minute to think about this and vote. All right. Yeah, I like what I see in the chat there. So the recommended answer is B. Maya has 3 full semesters. That is still likely ample time. A typical psychology field of study in the standard framework requires approximately 30 to 36 total credit hours, including the core curriculum courses she may already have. The key is identifying what she's already completed that maps to the core curriculum component. Then enrolling in the discipline foundation and selecting the directed elective strategically. Option A is wrong because 3 semesters is more than enough time. Option C could be harmful because it wastes transfer protection opportunities. Option D misses the chance to protect her credits and earn the Texas Direct status. So let's tackle 4 myths that your students and sometimes university advisors believe most strongly. Myth number 1, completing a field of study guarantees admission to a Texas university. What do you guys think in the chat? The field of study protects credit transfer only, not admission. Students must still meet the university's admission standards. Texas Education Code 61.823 does not override admissions authority. Myth number 2, if there's no field of study for my major, I can't transfer my credits. This is also false. Students without an applicable field of study can use core curriculum block transfer, TCC&S course equivalencies, or institutional articulation agreements between Lone Star College and specific universities. Myth number 3, a field of study course must have the exact same name or number as the university's course. What do you guys think? Yeah, this is also false. Equivalency is determined by course content and learning outcomes. A university cannot reject a field of study course simply because Lone Star College calls it Biology 1406 instead of Biology 101. All right, let's look at our last myth. Myth number 4. A completed field of study covers all my degree requirements at the transfer university. God, you guys are on it. Great. Yeah, this is also false. A field of study covers the specific courses and the 3 components, typically representing 30 to 50% of the bachelor's degree. Students still need the upper division courses, electives, and other major requirements at the receiving institution. Great job. I'm going to pass it back over to Amy here.
Thank you, Priscilla. Okay, section 4 is the practical toolkit, your field of study inventory and coordinating board resources that you'll probably use every day. Okay, Lone Star College maintains fields of studies across 7 disciplines right now. I want to highlight a few notes about upcoming or on the horizon changes. The list starts with what we have currently in inventory. Next, we have 3 fields of study that are anticipated to be in our inventory as of fall 26. That is communications, the history AA for the BA, and kinesiology. Finally, we have 3 fields of study that are nearly ready for Lone Star College to adopt. They're going through the final steps with the coordinating board, and we might anticipate that these would be ready for Lone Star College inventory as soon as fall 2027. It's biology, computer science, and English. Now, something critical to remember, always verify those fields of study directed electives at the coordinating board's Texas Transfer website, Texas Direct website, with each advising conversation, because the fields of study directed electives can be updated periodically, and using an outdated version can create problems for students. That's that wild card that I mentioned it makes me nervous, but y'all got this. You know where to go and how to guide the student on. If you're going to UH, take these. If you're going to A&M, take these other courses. Okay. So these are the 6 resources you'll likely use most as a transfer advisor. You're probably familiar with most of these, so I'm not going to go through them individually, but I want to make sure that you have this information. So we'll be sharing this slide deck and a resource guide with you as a follow-up after the presentation. This slide is your legal quick reference. These are 8 statutes and rules on 1 page. If only it were that simple in all of our lives. Fit it on 1 page. We've been covering each of these during the presentation already. I'd encourage you to reference it when students or university contacts might challenge a transfer decision. The numbered statutes carry authority in any transfer conversation. I want to note here on the far right, it's a proposed TAC rule, Texas Administrative Code rule. I'm excited about this one because it adds another layer of transparency and accountability for institutions of higher education, IHE, institutions of higher education. So if it's approved, all institutions would have to report on what they're not accepting and also on what they're doing to improve transfer pathways. We should know within the next couple of months if this is going to be adopted. So it's out there, I think, for public comment right now. So it's good. I mean, we do a lot of reporting around this, but it's adding more and more teeth and more eyes in the legislature for accountability. It's good. One more report. Okay, now we arrived at section 5. So maybe a field of study is not the exact right fit for your student. Here are some other options. So when a student doesn't have an applicable field of study, these 3 pathways are part of your advising toolkit. You have the core curriculum block transfer. So a completed 42 credit hour core curriculum must be accepted as a block by any Texas public university, and that would satisfy their entire general education requirement. You can use the TCCNS to help with determining course by course equivalency. So when a TCNS code matches between Lone Star College and a university, that course must be accepted as equivalent, and that is completely separate from the field of study enrollment. And then there are the institutional articulation agreements. Those are program-specific agreements between Lone Star College and other universities. And we have here Karen Vance and Sonia Delgado to tell you more about these options. I'll turn it over to you, Sonia.
Yes, thank you, Amy. Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Sonia Delgado. I'm the coordinator for University Partnerships, and I am joined by my director, Karen Vance. So our area, University Partnerships, as you can see, falls under the Academic Initiatives and Partnerships area, which is led by Dr. Michelle Zook. I will start by giving a quick overview of the university partnerships and our role at Lone Star College. Our office manages a tier-structured partnership program that includes guaranteed agreements with our top 5 transfer institutions, standard articulation agreements, and the transfer degree plans, which are the articulated pathways for the Lone Star College programs. In addition to the general partnership management, we're in the initial planning stages of 2 new transfer initiatives. The first one is transfer advising support services. That is with the goal of providing resources and support to campus transfer advising teams. The second initiative is transfer student navigation services, which offers administrative and mentorship support for the students who have transferred to one of our top institutions. And as we progress in those initiatives, we will share more with our advising teams. Until recently, we also managed prior learning assessment, but that is currently transitioning over to curriculum management. We can move on to the next slide. Thank you. So if you start from the Lone Star homepage, you can find us by going to the Student Services tab and then choosing Transfer Services. And on our main Transfer Services page, you will find 4 tiles that will take you to transfer-related services within Lone Star College. And below those 4 tiles, there is a short overview of the new partnership process. And now we're going to look at some of the resources more closely. We're going to start with the transfer planning page. So when you click on the transfer planning tile, you will get to this page. And we created this to help students who are preparing their transfer to a 4-year university. On the right-hand side, you can see that we have external links. It's a little bit fuzzy, but those links are to apply Texas, the FAFSA application, and other important areas to prepare for transfer. Now, we are aware that each of the LSC colleges have their own transfer page, and we are currently working to determine how we can connect all of the pages, how we can kind of reduce the duplication of information, and make sure that we're all saying the same information, giving the same information to our students. In the middle part of the web page, you will see that we have a couple of tips for students. And in the right in the middle, we've created a video guide that walks the student through each section of the transfer degree plans. Now there's a link right above that video that is called Transfer Degree Plans. And if we click on that one, we will get to our next slide. And that is the Transfer Degree Plans and University Partners page. Now, as you can see, we have the universities listed in tile format, and each tile has the university logo and their main location. Now, to be included on this page, the university must have some type of partnership agreement with Lone Star. So this could be a general transfer agreement, program-specific agreements, or co-enrollment programs. Now, we also require one of these formal partnership agreements before we can start developing any transfer degree plans. And if you're looking for a specific program rather than a specific partner, you can either use the search bar, you could type in a program name or an area of study, or you can use the right-hand side. We have the area of study choices. You can check for in-state or online programs. And then if we go to the next slide, we will look at the university titles a little bit closer. So this is the one for Sam Houston. And if you're looking for more information for the specific university, you can click on the Learn More button, and that will pop up with direct links to the transfer websites. And below that, we have a space for partnership benefits, if they're available, and a list of all of our finalized transfer pathways. Now, those transfer pathways are clickable, and they will open in a PDF format in a separate window. The transfer degree plans, so we follow the guidance of our catalog, and they're effective for 5 catalog years. This means you should not see anything older than 5 years listed on our website. But you may see duplicate plans that are listed that have different effective years. So one might say 2025, one might say 2023. So they're all still effective, falling within that 5-year term. If you do not see any plans listed for university or for a specific program, that means that we have not yet developed a degree plan for that area. And then we'll look on the next slide into how we develop those plans. The transfer degree plan is developed collaboratively and involves decisions, including the LSC curriculum team, the university faculty team, and their articulation or transfer department. So we only consider the plans final, and they're only ready to be published once we have written approval from all of the above groups. So if you have a student that comes to you and they say, I follow this plan, but the university is not accepting a course that is specifically listed on one of the plans, please do let us know, and you can use the LSC University Partnerships email to reach out to us. And that is already the end of my section. We have, again, our email address. You can reach out to us with any questions. I know we have a little bit of time at the end of this presentation, but if we don't get to a question, or if you have anything pop up in between, you can always give us you can also give us a call, but I have the email right there.
All right. Thank you, Sonia and Karen, both of you, for being here and contributing to add to this presentation. We made it through the presentation. You all have been a great audience and very responsive. So let's check in on where we are now. I have for you the same question that we started with. How confident are you about advising on field of study transfer pathways? Let's go back to the Slido. We're going to go ahead and see how you feel about that question now. Go ahead and, if you want, with your phone, scan the QR code. Your phone may still have it in there, or you can join at slido.com and enter the code. That's great. Look at that shift. All right.
I want to call this a win.
Yeah, for sure. So that's why we do this training. We want to give you guys the confidence you need to be able to answer the questions and help guide the students through the field of studies and be able to help them get to those transfer institutions in a seamless and smooth way. So now I've got another question for you. What one thing will you do differently after today? So I'm going to give you some options to choose from. Which one of these options screams loudest for you? Is it asking students about both their major and their target university in the same question? Checking the field of study directed electives with each transfer advising appointment? Apologies, you guys can do this in the Slido again. And so add your response here. Share field of study dispute rights with students proactively. Don't wait for a problem. And then the other option is recommend the Texas Transfer Framework e-learning module to colleagues. Oh, this is great. Those two are kind of close. Oh, neck and neck. Okay. Really good. Really, really good. This is great.
Oh,
So,
nobody wants to take the Texas Transfer Framework e-learning module. What?
it's
I'm sure.
very informative. Very informative.
Yeah, it is. It's rather in depth, and the coordinating board put it together. So
So, as we prepare, we're at the time where we'd like to open the floor and give you all an opportunity to ask some questions. But as we're preparing for the questions, I'd like to offer 3 discussion prompts on the screen. So, after learning all that we've learned today, what field of study situation might you have encountered in advising that was confusing or surprising? Um, do you have any of your students target universities that have had transfer field of study transfer issues that you've helped to navigate? And then lastly, what additional resources or training would help you advise more effectively on a field of study? So these are some things that you might consider and maybe having those discussions.
Does anyone know when all this started? Like whenever students would transfer to different Texas institutions and they had to start accepting the 42-hour core and play nice with each other?
mm, the new course started in 2015, I think. That was 2015, 14, 15. And yeah, so it's a good question, and it also helps explain why are they revising the field of study. So the fields of study have been a thing for a while, and what the community colleges kept reporting to the coordinating board is, hey, there are problems that the universities aren't taking. They aren't taking this. They're still making students retake things, and why should the coordinating board care? Because now there are duplicate dollars being spent on the community college side where we're funded, and the institution side where they get funded, and the student is also having to spend a lot more money in order to get a degree. So that's where the coordinating board said, hey, universities, you need to do this. You have to follow it. It's like, hang on, we didn't pay attention well enough the first time when we developed this. We didn't think y'all were serious. I am adding my color to that. So let's go back to the table and if you're gonna put the teeth on it, then let's renegotiate what we're agreeing to. So now we have new fields of study that provide the flexibility for the institution, as those directed electives, and it provides a good foundation that is right for uh, which is something we can do, but is also good for the transfer universities, because they don't all do the program the same way, which is also okay. So students need to be prepared in slightly different ways. So we have this new framework, and uh, now they're putting more teeth to it to say, okay, we renegotiated it. It's a whole lot of effort to switch things, and now there's the reporting requirements on it. Let's make it work. But I think one of the important things in that is that as you're working with your student and you've done your part to set the student up for success, they are complete in their field of study, or they've taken courses that do apply, at least in part, that they know what their rights are as a student. So when they get over to the university, and the university, it takes time. Organizational change takes time to do. So maybe not everybody got the message, or they're slow to adapt and adopt. That the student is also prepared for what they know should be happening, and what the process is to advocate for themselves. And Lone Star College is also a partner in that. So while change is still happening, meaning while people are switching from old habits to new habits, equipping the student in knowing what their rights are in this transfer process. That helps.
Yes, it does. Because what had happened to me was I graduated Lone Star, went to Sam Houston in 2016, and that's what they were having me repeat core curriculum courses that I had taken at Lone Star because, and this was back in 2016. So it's good to know now that students have rights and they can fight for it. So I always try to explain that to students. I'm like, hey, it's different now. You have rights. You need to fight for your rights. Because I mean, if I'd have known that back then, I would have never, done that.
So the 2016 thing, so there's a little bit of what's your plan year? Because it feels like that might have been on the that you old core versus new core, and with what is it, enrollment breaks, like you could have been applied to an old plan because if no enrollment break. But so it's that weird transition thing, which is why that's why advising is so important, because when students say, well, what I need to take, the answer is always, and in our office too, it depends. What's your plan year? Have you had any enrollment breaks? So what are the rules around that? And would it benefit a student? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, to move to the more current plan.
Right.
Thanks so much for that, Amy. I just wanted to jump in before you get to the chat questions, because I have a couple of questions, and it kind of pertains to one of the questions in chat. So, one of the concerns or questions I have is there any regulations for, well, two things, the Texas Direct website as well as TCNS. For the Texas Direct website, how often is it updated? And if we advise as of February 27th, 2026, which is today, for a student, and they finish in 3 years, 3 years, because they're taking classes here and they finally finish their field of study and whatever, and they move off to the Texas University. Well, now something has changed. By the time they get to that university, oh, well, we don't even offer that, psychology class anymore. You have to take this other one that we offer. We don't offer that one. Is there any protection, any regulation of, I started at Lone Star in 2026, I finished in 2029. Now I'm coming to the University of Houston in 2029, but now you're changing what I was told in 2026.
Yeah, right. That's a good question, and I haven't seen what I know that they have a process for updating field of study, but I have not seen that versioning of directed electives, except for, so we're on the Texas Direct website, and you see there's an asterisk here. There's an asterisk on sociology, political science, criminal justice, and business administration. And those were some of the first ones that came out of the gate. And I believe they got corrected before it started. Before these fields of study started, they went and did a change to, I'm going to click on political science. They went and did a change to the directed electives, which I didn't get an email about that. So when we stumbled over, we're like, oh, you changed it. You should really tell somebody when that happens. So I'm not sure if they're able to, what that process is going to look like when they need to version a field of study. What I do know about the coordinating board is that they try to be very clear and safe with the students that older versions apply for a specified period of time, and there's a teach out for that while a new version phases in. So I anticipate that it won't be any different for these, that the old if there are directed electives that change, they will provide a window of complete it and transfer it by X amount of time before the new electives become the rule. And so then it becomes a what plan are you on and by when do you need to complete it kind of a question.
Yeah, and I wanted to just bring that up because advising is very challenging because we try very hard to stay abreast of all the rules and what's effective now. And to be honest, I didn't even refer to this direct elective website, but the TCCNS has been our, go-to. So my next question pertains to that. Is there any regulation to force them to update that website? Because there are times that we go to that website and a class is not listed.
So the TCCNS,
Yeah.
yeah, there's nothing that forces that. So curriculum management does provide updates annually because they'll open it up and they'll notify everybody. But I'm not aware of anything that forces that now. However, there is it's in Texas Administrative Code that requires that the institution publish in their catalog the equivalency, the TCCNS equivalency
Yeah.
for
I
their
mean,
courses.
yeah, we try. That's the other thing we do. If we can't find it on that website, we just go directly to the, university catalog. I mean, it's a lot of research that we have to do sometimes, depending on the situations. My last question, and maybe it's more of a comment, because this has been a challenge that we've gotten from faculty here at Sci-Fair, is like the transfer guide that you showed, which was great. We use those. One of the challenges was, and in your example, it clearly identified History 1301, 1302. That's not the only core that we offer at Lone Star. And so these history professors are very upset that these transfer guides only show History 1301 and 1302. So for example, Mexican American history, a student could take that and it would transfer, but it's not listed on the transfer guide, so students aren't enrolling. Is there any conversation about that, of maybe making those transfer guides a little more inclusive of the other, because that's not, as in an advisor, that's not my responsibility to make these transfer guides include every single class that exists for transfer. That's, curriculum's responsibility. And we tried to explain that to faculty. And so I'm just kind of bringing that to your attention, that that's been a complaint from faculty, that sometimes it only lists a very prescriptive couple of classes instead of the core.
We used a Sam, I believe it was, transfer guide. So Karen, I see your hand raised, and I'm going to lean on you a little bit for the response to this question, and then I think you had some other things to contribute on that.
Thank you, Amy. Yes, I would like to talk about a couple of these questions that Contessa has asked. So first, on the transfer guides, you are correct, and on the new ones, that is something that Sonia and I have discussed, is that we need to unless the university specifies we want them to have those two history courses, then we're trying to be conscious about putting that it's a core option and they can take any history course. So that is something that we've discussed and we are working on changing on the newer maps. I also wanted to kind of go back and address your question about the catalog year and with those directed electives changing. So some, not all universities, give that student the option of staying in the catalog year when they started with us. They'll honor that catalog year for 6 years. So I believe that would help with the making sure their program hasn't changed. If they're updating their catalog year, they should select the catalog year that works best for them. So that's also part of our new guaranteed agreement. You've probably heard the chancellor talk about that in his updates. So part of what we're asking in that new agreement with our top universities is that they do offer that option to students to stay within that catalog year. So if the student started with us in let's say 2024, and they don't transfer till 2027, then they could stay in that 24 catalog year so that the plan they started on, they would have no changes to that due to updated catalog or program changes. That's part of that guaranteed agreement that we're asking our top universities to agree to. And hopefully, once we get that secured with our top institutions, the top 4, kind of what we're looking at right now, top 5, then we would begin to work down the line and work with our other institutions to do that as well. Again, some already have that option in their catalog. That's part of their policy. Sam Houston does. When we asked Sam Houston, they said, oh, well, that's already in our policy. We do that anyway. We honor the catalog year for 6 years. So a student could remain in their catalog year. Now, do their advisors automatically ask their students that or tell their students that option is there, or do they put them in the current catalog year? That I don't know, and we'll be addressing that as we go forward.
That is
Hope that helps.
Okay, we are up on time. We have captured all of the questions that are in there. So we'll try to provide a response to that in our follow-up. I do have a few more minutes in case someone does have time and wants to wants to stay on and ask your question. But for everybody else, then I appreciate your time. I hope this was helpful to you. If you have any feedback on how to make it more helpful, happy to hear that, because you're the first and we're going to continue sharing the information.
I'll just say that I thank y'all very much for putting this in such a very succinct way. I would highly recommend you all volunteering for the Student Success Advising Conference in May to present to all of the system, because I think that this would benefit all of them across the system. Although at least I'll say for my advisors, we're very well aware of the intricacies of field of study, but not the new, this alternative field of study. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to what you said when you send me the video so that I can send this out to all the advisors, because I'm still trying to kind of wrap my brain around the difference. So yeah, I'm gonna have to kind of review that. I might be emailing you, Amy, because I want to be able to, because I know I'm gonna get questions too, and I want to be able to help the advisors understand that alternative field of study a little bit better.
Because we don't have one yet in inventory. Biology will be the first one, so maybe in context that will help.
Well, just if it comes up.
Tessa, do you know who's in charge of the conference?
Miss Wendy Wilson. You can reach right back out to her, because
are you? When is it you?
Putting it on? Yep.
Awesome.
I'm not in charge of the conference, but the VPSS Council is leading those efforts, and Sheldon Moss is the VPSS chair. There was a OD just sent out today the request for proposals information. It's been extended through March. So yes, we would love to have you all present. Even if you wanted to do kind of some, even a field of study and a transfer, I think both of those would be very well received at the conference, particularly, transfer what we're trying to do with the top 5 transfers, and then all the changes with fields of study. Would love it, love it, love it, love it.
Thank you. Michelle just asked me this morning, who's putting this on? I was like, I don't know. So, thank you.
So would it fit in one of the 15-minute blocks that y'all? We'll do it in 15.
Yeah, they do have lightning sessions that you'll see. Those are like for people to share like best practices. So they're kind of calling that speed dating. Think of it like that, where you can just go and learn. Oh, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. It gives our staff and people within student success opportunity to do some sharing and kind of get their feet wet for presenting if they don't feel like they can present a whole proposal, but they can present, a little bit. So, but y'all have the whole kit and caboodle. Give it to us.
Okay.
On Amy, you've been presenting so long, you can do 45 minutes on your blindfolded.
Its problem is keeping it to 45 minutes. There's so much, and it's all connected. Is there anything else? Anyone else? Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording, and so I think everybody gets notified that the recording is ready. But I'll send a link to Contessa, Dr. Wilson, so that as well as give us a minute to compile the notes. Got to check AI and the notes it took. We'll see, and send it out to everybody, the slide deck and resources.
Yeah, this presentation's really good too, because I couldn't write the website down fast enough. So I was like, well, they'll send it to us. So
Yeah, we will. Absolutely.